Hey, my name is Christopher McCore, and welcome to the Shift Show, where we bring spirit to bear on trending issues. And today's topic is, what is the lesson we're not getting? And of course, what I'm referring to in this question is the lesson about the pandemic. And the motivation, the inspiration for this episode is this notion. Um, I don't know if you've had this experience before. I've had it many times, which is I'm trying to do something. I have some goal. I'm trying to get a certain piece of software working, or uh, well, let's just use that example. And it's like it's stuck. There's something. It's for some reason it's not going forward. And I've like approached it from different angles, and it's like, is it this piece? No, that seems to be fine. But for some reason it's not moving forward, and very often in those circumstances I've found that it's because there's something inside myself that is stuck. There's some lesson that I haven't gotten, and until I get that lesson, um, that outer circumstance will not move forward. And as soon as I get that lesson, then the thing kind of moves forward. And I'm sort of hypothesizing that principle. Let's see, can we give a name to that principle? It's the let's call it as inside so outside um, principle. Um, as long as that principle um, is regarding the pandemic, um, what is the lesson that we're not getting, or what are the lessons we're not getting? Um, okay, so I'm going to share my screen as I often do, and I'm going to use the Enneagram, the ancient Enneagram, to help um, organize this exploration. Okay, so what is the lesson we're not getting? So as you know, if you've seen me use this before, you can see that there's a triangle here in this 9-pointed figure, and the top of the triangle is wholeness. And uh, me being a wholeness geek, I it's the answer in my perspective is usually wholeness or a lack of wholeness. In other words, there's 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 a piece of if it's for myself, there's a piece of my wholeness that I haven't recognized. There's some shadow element in that, and so moving forward with that in mind. Um, and I'm going to be referring part of the inspiration for this episode, for this vlogcast, is from a book called Radical Regeneration by Andrew Harvey and Carolyn Baker, and they kind of help plant this idea. The idea is that the pandemic is like in the here you probably heard of the hero's journey, and um, one of the initial stages in the hero's journey is the knock on the door. It's like in the Lord of the Rings. I forget now if it's Frodo or Bilbo. I think it's Bilbo Baggins, and he's having a peaceful day, smoking his pipe in his little hobbit hut, and there's a knock on the door, and he goes to the door, and there's Gandalf, and Gandalf is like saying, we need you. And the pandemic is kind of that idea, is that it's saying we need you. It's talking to humanity. It's talking to each of us, but it's talking to all of humanity, and it's saying we need you to rise to the occasion. We need you to become more of who you are. We need you to evolve, to take a leap, forward, so that um, so that the greater universe um, can benefit. And so this answering the call is really an important step. It's the first step, and it's also a very important step because um, I think I think a lot of people, first of all, we're not realizing that the pandemic is actually a call to our greatness. We're seeing it as a kind of a pain in the ass, and we're just waiting for it to go away, and so we can get back to normal, And like you've probably heard said numerous times in the last 2 years, there is no normal anymore. That there, or if the the normal that we're going to return to is going to be a new normal. It's going to be quite different than what things were like in the past. So, so what's the next step after, we realize, okay, there's something here, there's a call here, and I got to step, into this. I got to like get this lesson. I've got to become who I'm supposed to be in order for everything to move forward. So the first step is vulnerability, is to realize that there's something in myself that needs to be um, felt, embraced. Um, you know, um, it's some part of myself that I've been in denial about, and I need to own this part of myself so I can be more whole. And so, and usually, in the psychological realm, that's called shadow. It's it's a part of myself that's in the shadows, and um, when it's operating in the shadows, and it's not recognized, it's not embraced, it's not owned, what often happens is that that shadow element gets projected out into the world, and that becomes the world, that becomes the the circumstances in my life, and in terms of the collective, that becomes this collective projection that's going on right now, which is um, you know and part of that projection is the pandemic. So and when we actually work with and embrace this part of ourselves, then the projection can go away, and that's really what I'm talking about here is that um, it's like we're stuck in this projection because we're not getting the lesson. Um, but when we do own that part of ourselves, we do embrace that shadow element, then we become sovereigns. We own our reality, our own reality. We become, masters of our fate. We're actually in possession of, let's just say, most of who we are, and so um, there's less surprising projection going out into the world, and where we're kind of going like, why is this happening, and why is this still going on, and why it becomes obvious because we realize that it's as inside so outside. So I'm going to talk about some of the major things that I've learned through the pandemic, and maybe those things that I've learned are things that you've learned too, or maybe they're things that you need to learn. Maybe my lesson can become your lesson, and I'm not going to suppose that if everybody gets the lessons that I've learned, that everything's going to move forward, because I actually want to. I believe that everybody's got their own lessons, and that there's lessons that you have gotten during the pandemic that are still part of what I need to learn. And I'm hoping that as soon as you stop watching this video, you actually, put in the comments the things that you've learned, and anything else about this idea or this video. But one of the main things I've learned in this pandemic is tolerance, and I'll explain what I mean by tolerance. Tolerance is um, it's the realization that each of us is a part of the puzzle. That we each are an expression of the divine, and any one of our expressions is taken away is going to be less. It's going to end up with something that's less whole. And what's happened with the pandemic, in my perspective, is that people's survival sensibilities have come more to the surface, and and each person has become more. They've been sort of forced into creating a worldview. Maybe before there wasn't, so much of a need for a worldview, and so it was just kind of ambiguous. But now it's become more important, more necessary, because there's the need, the survival need, which is that if I don't create some kind of strategy about how I'm going to survive during this pandemic, I could die. And so people have, riveted by fear, have come up with viewpoints, worldviews, one worldview is that, that the, all that there's, that there are a chosen few people who are manipulating humanity, and I need to protect myself against those people. And then the other is that there's, that the establishment really does know what's going on and really has our best interest at heart, and everybody just needs to follow, that their regimen, and anybody who doesn't follow are actually, they're a menace to society. So as you can see, there's two viewpoints that are polarized, right? And that's what's happened, is that people have polarized in their viewpoints, and it's clear to me that those two viewpoints are, they are sort of, let's just say that they are pieces of the puzzle, and and there's a lot of gray area in between, and I guess what I want to say is that we're all in this together, and we need to accept each other's viewpoint. And by accepting everybody's viewpoint, we're going to reach a truth, a collective truth. And the way we do that is through tolerance. And the practicalities of tolerance, the practical application of tolerance. Number one, I'm going to just the number one, practice is making I statements. Is this, instead of saying, the everybody needs to get vaccinated, and all, and you're a jerk for not getting vaccinated. That is not an I statement. Whereas if you say, I think that the establishment has our best interest at heart, and So I think the vaccination is a good thing. I think the vaccination is the way through this pandemic, and and I believe everybody should get vaccinated. That's a nice statement, you know. It's being very clear that this is my own perspective, and and it's not, you know, it's not like the absolute truth. Um, so that's where we start, and then the next part of tolerance would be that the person who is listening actually lets that person, gives them the time, doesn't interrupt them, gives them the time to state what they believe, what they feel, and and when they're done, then they mirror. They say, "Oh, okay. Well, I hear that you believe that the establishment has our best interests at heart, and that the vaccine is actually the best solution, and that you feel like it would be best for everybody to get vaccinated." So you mirror that back, so that person feels like they've been heard. Whereas if I was the listener and I said, well, that's not true. It's like all I have to do is look at the medical industry's you know stance regarding hydrochloroquine and ivermectin, and it's clear to me, and I'm actually making an I statement here. um, but if I don't mirror back, then it just turns into a contention, because me expressing myself regarding the establishment will feel like, well, geez, did he even hear what I was saying? Did he even get what I was saying? And then I'll try to say it again, and it'll turn into an argument. So we have I statements, mirroring, and then the next step after the mirroring, which is kind of a subtle step, but it's very important, is to say, so if I'm mirroring back, that viewpoint about the establishment, I could say, well, I can understand how you would have that viewpoint, how a person, anybody could have that viewpoint, and it makes sense to me. Um, the important thing to remember about validation is that you're not agreeing with the person, right? You're not agreeing with their viewpoint. You're just saying, I hear your viewpoint, and I can understand how you would have that viewpoint. And what happens, and this, by the way, this is what I'm putting forth here, is called nonviolent communication. It's pieces of nonviolent communication. So just by mirroring and validating like that, you create an environment of tolerance, and I think that's all I'm going to go. There's other steps, but you could see. So if these two people continue to make I statements and mirror and validate each other, you can have a discussion. You can disagree, but you can have a discussion, and you can honor each other's viewpoints. And that's, I think that's one of the biggest. This is one of the biggest things I've learned, during the pandemic, is the absolute necessity for tolerance. It's we're just it's so easy to slide off the deep end and to get into these heated arguments, when really what we need to be doing is embracing our different viewpoints. It's like we're we're in the throes of birth. Humanity is like birthing a new part of ourselves, and this new baby is just this ungainly kind of combination of different viewpoints, and that's that's what we have to work with, and we have to embrace this and honor it, and nurture it, so that it grows up to be whole. The other important thing that I've learned through the pandemic is collaboration. And I'm going to just kind of relate how that happened for me. So um, I'm married. I got married just a few years ago in 2018. And my wife and I are both musicians, and we have a band together. And I've been playing music since I'm 67 now, and I started playing music when I was 12, and so I just have a lot of experience playing music. Whereas my wife, who is younger, she played music when she was younger, but then she stopped for a long time and then started, you know, more recently. So you know, so from in an objective sense, I have more experience than she. All right, so when we and we part of being in the band is we songwrite together, and when we would songwrite and work on things, rehearse and stuff like, I would I had this attitude like, well, I know best here, and you should just kind of take my lead with this, and because of who she is, and she just that was not acceptable. She felt like her contribution was as valid and should be honored. And it took the longest time for me to finally like come around to that, to agree with that. And the way that I came to it was through when I look at like musical collaborations, like Lennon and McCartney, and the Eagles and Pink Floyd, and Genesis, and there's just so many examples that when people collaborate, and it's not just music. There's far less in the literary field, but the Expanse series is, if you didn't know, is written actually by two guys. It's a collaborative, and it shows. It's like that writing is excellent. Um, so the nature of collaboration is that when you have more than one viewpoint regarding a product, that and that and each of the viewpoints, right? Each of the people involved agree, that, oh yeah, this is good, I like this. Then the chances of that product actually being good and um, and accessible to the mainstream, to the general public, are going to be greater, because there's more, there's more viewpoints in agreement about it, and so what that practically what that means in collaboration, or in this instance of this collaboration with my wife, is that um, it's like, if I want to create something and I want to just do it on my own, then I should just do it on my own, and just have that. And um, but if I want to create with my wife, then I have to accept that if we've created like a song, and I feel like this is good, we've got it here, and she says, I don't there's I don't like this part of it, then the song's not done. The song isn't done until we both agree that the song is good, right? And like I said before, when we both agree that the song is good, then that song is going to be better. It's just like, it's a trust, it's a belief that that is the case. That when you collaborate and you give yourself to the collaboration, and it is a sacrifice. It's like you really have to sacrifice your own ideas, your own inclinations, your own instincts, for you trust that what's coming about collectively is actually the way towards a greater product. And so that's it. And like I said, it took me a really long time to get, and when I finally got it, things were better. Things. We started our process became more efficient and and efficient and also fulfilling. And then when we started working with a drummer, we had to go through the same process. He actually he did, we had our name, our band name was the Divine Tribe, and this new drummer of ours, I'll just say that he had some religious wounding, you know, and so that, using the word divine was just, it didn't agree with him. And so we had to go through a process of coming up with a new name. And it took like a couple of months of constantly working, it's like, oh, what about this? What about this? And we finally arrived at a name that the three of us like, which is Radiant Deep. And so this practice of collaboration is it's ongoing, and and I believe that, what, in terms of my belief about what we need to learn from the pandemic, what I've learned and what I feel, this is my perspective, is that we all need to learn. This is part of the tolerance. It's like you become tolerant to each other's views, and then you actually work with each other's views. You actually put it into practice, and you create, and what we're creating here is our society, is our culture. You create a civilization that we all agree is good, and that's what needs to happen here. And this is a huge hump, that we have to get over. I think this is the lesson that one of the lessons that we're not getting, and frankly, I don't know how to get it, except one person at a time, or one couple at a time, or one group at a time, and it just spreads. Hopefully, by me doing this vlog cast, that it's going to help. But what happens, in the process is that in this collaboration that we actually start working together as a species, that we actually are able to sort of get our heads out of our asses, so to speak, and pay attention to more than just ourselves, which means the earth and everything on the earth, and realize that that we're, by having the human population so large, that we're creating all this carbon dioxide, and that we have to we've got to do something, whatever it is, whether if it's reducing the world population, or using quantum computing to come up with new solutions to carbon dioxide sequestering, and turning that into oxygen. And but anyway, so what we're talking about here is each person answering the call, and figuring out, from your sovereign perspective, what it is that the lesson that you need to get from this pandemic, and using tolerance to express and listen to all these different viewpoints, and create a collaboration where we can unify as a species, and then we can actually become stewards of the earth rather than abusers of the earth. And so then we reach wholeness in ourselves, and we reach wholeness as a species. So I'm going to stop my share now. And so this is Christopher McClure, and this is Welcome to the Shift Show, and the topic today has been, what is the lesson we're not getting? And it's based on the idea that there's did we give a name to it? We give, yes, the name is as inside, so outside, meaning that very often an outer circumstance may seem stuck, and the reason it's stuck is because we're not getting a lesson, um, and we're not shifting inside. That what we hold inside of ourselves is becomes that it is creates our reality, and if we're not aware of what we're holding inside of ourselves, then we project that out into the world, so we can actually see it. You know, it's a reflection, but we can actually see it. And the same kind of thing happens in dreams. You know, that when we dream at night, what we're seeing is a reflection of what we hold inside of ourselves. It's the same thing in waking state. It's just it's more apparent when we're dreaming. You know that we and when we wake up, you know we realize that it's just a dream. Well, you know, I think some waking up is in order. So anyway, I hope this was helpful, and please leave comments. Tell me what the lesson is that you've gotten, the lessons that you've gotten, and or anything else about this whole idea, so that we can become more whole individually and collectively, so that we can become stewards of the earth. Thank you.